Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the eMLB Here Is Why You're Wrong podcast. I'm Aiden Pearson, GM of the Atlanta Braves, and I'm joined as always this time for the first time in a pretty good minute, just a two-person show today. I'm joined by my co-host Brenden, the GM of the Baltimore Orioles. Brenden, it's weird but nice at the same time just to be in a one-on-one situation where we can fully get to our bickering stage.
You know what? It is. And frankly, I think we need to do more of it. I think we love having the guests on so much, and it's a lot of fun to have people on, but we really do need to stick more to our format, which is just us arguing back and forth.
But you know how I feel about format.
There is no format.
Exactly.
I'm
That's
very,
how it should
I'm
be.
very much
If you all want format, go to the eMLB Insider podcast. If you want fun and excitement, you stay here.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
Well, I don't know about fun, but definitely excitement.
Definitely excitement. So today, our episode is going to be our preseason predictions, what we expect to happen in each division, playoff winners, and then we're going to go back to our segment, The Hot Seat, a new segment that's going to stick with us after last episode. I think we got a really good response on it, so I think we're going to keep it it's like our show's go-to segment nowadays. And then after that, at the end, if you stick around, we're going to do our World Series matchup, who's going to win and how many games. So let's go ahead and kick it off. We're going to start in your division, Brenden, in the AL East. The AL East is one of the more interesting divisions because similar to the NL East, there are a lot of teams that can compete in there. Your first initial thoughts, obviously you being a GM, what are your first initial thoughts of the AL East?
The AL East is top heavy. The AL East has two of the worst teams in the American League. No disrespect to the Yankees or Blue Jays, they're just not there yet. But it also has three of the best teams in the American League, and that is the ultra deadly lineup of the Red Sox, the all-around solid roster of the Orioles, and the amazing top-tier talent in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, for sure. Mind you, what I'm about to say here is according to Out of the Park Baseball. According to Out of the Park Baseball, it's got Toronto finishing last at 60 and 102, Baltimore finishing 500 at 81 and 81, Boston at 82 and 80, New York at 83 and 79, and Tampa at 94 and 68. I think we can both agree that those are a little far off.
I think that you can't use the Out of the Park preseason predictions until spring training is over. It generates those predictions the minute you hit spring training and then regenerates them again at the end. At the beginning, they're worthless.
Hey, but it's still something for us to go on just so you guys have a comparison. Obviously, things will change. We'll make sure we go over them again in our preseason review episode, which will probably end up being the next episode after this, or maybe one in between. We're not exactly sure how recording schedules are going to go around based on sim time. But the AL East, I think, like you mentioned, is top heavy. And for me, it really is going to come down to which pitching staff holds up the best. And I think that's the key in this division, just because we know what offenses are there. When we talk we talk Buster Bluth, we talk Nick Spence. Mind you, you're minus Alex Verdugo, but I think you have enough pieces to kick it up. Tampa's going to be Tampa. Tampa's going to Tampa. They're led by Wander Franco. They're going to Tampa. You got Boston, who's already mentioned that some of their guys are on the trade block, but James LeBron, Rafael Devers are still there to lead the way for that. So it's really going to come down to who's the pitching. I think the fact that you're hurting by losing a starting pitcher, one of the top two in the AL last year, I think that hurts you. So it creates that gap that maybe was a little bit bigger, you being the AL champ, and shrinks it down to a 3-horse race that was maybe a 1 and then a 2-3. Now it's a 1-2-3.
In my mind, Boston is the 3 in that scenario. Tampa last year was horribly unlucky, and we lose Jim Reed. I think the combination of those two things doesn't just shorten the gap, it actually flips it. And that's why in my AL East predictions, how I think the division is going to go, it is Tampa 1 with approximately 95 wins on my prediction. Baltimore 2, 89, Boston 3, 83, Then New York and the Blue Jays in 4 and 5 with 64 and 62 apiece.
Yeah, so I'm going to go bottom up just because that's how I have it written down here on my computer. I'm going to go New York at the bottom at 59 wins. I've got Toronto at 66. I've got Boston at 87. I've got Baltimore at 87 as well. And then I've got Tampa at 96.
Yeah, it seems like we're roughly in the same ballpark on all those.
Yeah, and mind you guys, as we get along here, there will be more arguing. The AL East, however, is just one of those divisions that both of us know really well.
I feel
Brenden
like
obviously being a GM in that, and for me, I'm a former CCP of that. I'm really close with Charles. I'm really close with Brenden as well. I know that division pretty well out of all the divisions.
I feel like league-wide, there's a lot of consensus on this division.
Which is weird. If you think about it, it's weird that a division has this much consensus.
Yeah, it really is, especially when you get into the rest. I think the only other division that has at least somewhat a consensus on who the top is our next one.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Hold on. Let's pump the brakes. Let's pump the brakes a little. Okay, I want to talk about this because this is a huge thing just because it's not like normal MLB. Are we going to be talking about in September, October, the New York Yankees having the #1 overall draft pick?
We very well could be. They are one of the teams best positioned to challenge for the #1 pick. And that's a scary thought. That's a very well. They actually wouldn't be challenging for the #1 pick because next year we're going to have the expansion teams drafting 1 and 2.
But you know what I mean, like challenging for a top pick.
Yes, the Yankees have fallen on really hard times in our league.
Here's something I don't understand. Pete came out at the beginning of the season and said, "I want to rebuild," which in his position of his team, you have to do at this point. Esteban Florial's value is as high as it's ever going to get. Yet he didn't really make any moves.
I think Florial's young enough to where he feels like he can hang on to him and get good years out of him once his team's been rebuilt. The main issue for me is that not much has happened in New York.
Like, it's not even like he went and signed out, like, some of these minor free agents.
Or even big ones.
He hasn't done anything. He's got the budget to do stuff, and he hasn't really done anything. He hasn't made a trade. And I'll be honest, I've asked him about a few different players. I've asked him if he wants a few of my players just because I see value. And his value, and I'm not afraid to talk about this because this is what we can talk about. His valuation of players is very different from a lot of guys in this league. He's got a very high value on his players, which is understandable. All of us have very high values on our players. But at times, where do you go? And this is something that we could go on for hours about, I feel. But this is not just a Yankees thing. But where do you have to go? Okay, I have to realize that it's not all about my value. I also have to realize that other people have different values because of different scouting evaluations, different player evaluation tools, and things like that, because that's how real baseball works. You could value, let's say, I'll pull you a prime example. Not a lot of people like Ryan Yarbrough, Tampa Bay Rays starting pitcher. I love him when he comes after an opener because the stats show it. The way I evaluate him, he seems crisper. He seems sharper. So my value on him is higher than, let's say, your value on him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And the league value is smaller, is lesser than maybe the team's value is, and that makes sense. I personally don't. I personally never talked trade with him. I can't speak because I don't believe in trading in division if I can help it. Maybe there's a reason for him not making moves. Maybe he does have a pretty high opinion of the guys he's got coming up, and he feels like the talent he has within is going to be what elevates the Yankees back to the playoffs in a couple years.
But with the Yankees, do you have a couple years?
That's a good question. Luckily in this league, we don't get fired by our owners for not winning. So
I mean, you got 20-year-old Jules Zana, a catcher for you. I mean, I'm just looking at this, mind you. You got Al Hinton, a first baseman, 24 years old. I'm just looking at this. You got Kenny Rodriguez at second base.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you still got, Miguel Andujar, Gleyber Torres, still names that you'll recognize. You got Trevor Story there as well. He's in his age 33 season. You got Papa Vaz, a shortstop prospect, who's there as well. You got Esteban Florial, who we mentioned, who had a great season last year. So you've got Everson Pereira. you got some guys. You know what I mean? It's not completely complete. You got Alex Green, so you got a young core there. On the pitching side, I think that's where you really notice that outside of maybe Debbie Garcia, there really isn't much there.
The pitching is very, very weak.
I mean, you got some
feel like the
prospects. You got
roster as
Feaster
a
Perez,
whole-
you got Clark Schmidt, but yeah,
I
go
feel
ahead.
like the
Sorry.
roster as a whole just is lacking depth and doesn't even really have top end guys to carry it.
They've got a lot of guys who would be great high-level role players on other teams,
or
but
good players.
But you don't have a New York bona fide superstar. You don't have an in real life Aaron Judge. You don't have an in real life Garrett Cole. Obviously, they're different in this league because the ratings are much different based on real life, but you don't have a guy like, I'll even take mine. You don't have an Antonio Alvarez, an Alex Verdugo, an Aiden Pearson, a Max Fried, a Mike Soroka. You don't have that guy in New York, which in New York you have to have. You see it on the other side in the Mets, which we'll talk about later on in the episode, with a guy like Yofran Escalona, but you don't have it on the Yankee side. And until the Yankees get that, until the Yankees start splashing the cash, I don't see them competing in the AL East.
Not anytime soon, I don't.
Not anytime soon. All right, let's go ahead and move over to our next division in the AL Central. AL Central is an interesting division. I think based on some rankings we've heard come out, maybe would probably be considered the weakest or the worst division. Mind you, when we say worst division in eMLB, it's not saying the GMs are bad. It's just saying the quality of teams in comparisons to other teams as well. I think this is the one where it's a 2-horse race, if that.
It's not.
And at this point, I don't even know if it's a 2-horse race.
It's a 1-horse race, though I think the final standings will be closer than they should be at the end.
So we'll do a dive on each team. Tell me who. Let's go bottom up. Tell me. Let's see how close we are together. We'll go 5 each, and then we'll go each level. So go ahead and you start here.
Cleveland with 73 wins.
I've got Minnesota with 64.
Okay. You do 4.
I got 4. I've got Cleveland at 71.
We're close there. Kansas City with 75.
Yeah. Next, I've got Kansas City at 76.
Oh, okay. Chicago with 78.
Fair. I've got Chicago at 80.
Minnesota with 82.
And then I have Detroit at 87.
Detroit at 88. So it looks like we match up pretty closely, except for our evaluations of the Minnesota Twins.
Brenden, we're supposed to be arguing.
We are arguing, and now we can argue right now.
Yes.
Why do you think the Twins are so bad?
I think the Twins are bad for 2 reasons.
Okay.
Mind you, I am wearing a Twins hat. I work for the Twins in real life. So that's why this hurts me, okay? I want to put this out there before I say this. And this is no hate on anyone. As a first-year GM last year for me, I saw what my team was supposed to do and came out about 20 games short of what I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I think first-season Blues are going to hit GT. There's nothing outside of LaRon Smith that strikes me with that team. Yes, they have a leader in LaRon Smith, but, outside of that, nothing screams great about their pitching staff to me.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop you and argue. I don't think they have a great pitching staff. What I think they have is a lot of high-level, solid players that can put together a solid team.
I don't disagree, but I also their bullpen situation. Hold on. Their bullpen situation is shaky to me, and also I'm a believer in you need a true ace, and they don't have that.
They have one coming.
They've got one coming, but we're talking about this season. We're not talking about coming up the way. We're talking about this season. And I honestly think
we can have the same argument on another team later in this ranking.
Huh?
We can have the same argument about another team later in this ranking where you have where there's a bunch of solid guys but no true level ace.
And I think, you know what? I'll be the first one to say it. My team has that right now. My team in Atlanta doesn't really have a true ace right now.
I was referencing you.
I know you were, but I think I have 3 guys who are ace material.
You have 3 guys. You have
Hold on. We're not talking
quality,
about me.
good rotation.
We're not talking about me right now. All right, we'll come back to me.
Fair enough.
Hey, look at this. For once, I'm the one trying to keep us on track. What is this?
This is just you being wrong.
I just think Minnesota will lack what it needs to do, and I'm not going to be shocked when they're selling at the deadline and they finish below 70 wins. It's not going to be a shock to me at all.
I think that they're going to shock a lot of people, not be in the wild card conversation in late September, but finish barely above 500, a little bit like the White Sox did this year, and build some solid momentum moving forward.
What shows you that they can do that? Because their offense doesn't look great, especially after trading Royce Lewis.
So Alex Kirilloff, very good bat. Trevor Larnach, very good. Evan White, very good. Jack Peterson, average. Laron Smith, amazing. Top level of the lineup is good. It's not amazing. It's good enough. They also have Luis Alex Fernandez as a prospect who's going to be coming up. They have Tony Courtney. They also just got from St. Louis. And Jerry Sherman, another outfielder. They have several good players. It's not top heavy. It's not elite by any means. But I think it's good enough in that division to emerge as one of the better teams because personally, I find a lot of the other teams in the division to have deeper flaws than Minnesota does.
The biggest thing for me with Minnesota is I want to wait and see what happens. Here's my thing. If they start off hot, I'll give them the credit they deserve. But until I see what they do under the first-year management of the new manager, I hesitate.
You know what? This is a preseason prediction. We don't have the luxury of waiting to see how they do.
I know. That's why I'm saying.
We're guessing how they're going to do.
And that's why I'm saying from experience, that's where I see the struggle coming in. And that's fine that we can disagree. That's what this show is for. I want to talk about a team that won the division last year in Kansas City. We both have them regressing. Why?
I
hate to put it that bluntly.
They're 2 words, and they're related to each other. Pitching and Rosario. The pitching staff is bad. Full stop. Losing Rosario is a colossal loss, and will not be made up by Co anytime soon.
You really, even if you think Co boosts a whole bunch right now, you don't think it's enough to overcome the loss? Just and this is not me trying to say, oh, you're right or you're. I'm just trying to piece this together.
Yes, Co has a ways to go.
Okay.
Co has a ways to go to get to where Rosario is, even with a lot of boosting. And I know Crazy Coach is going to be on that because he's happy to be on his hometown squad. And I think that move in the long run probably ends up in a good spot for him. But it's going to take a while to get there, especially since pitchers are harder to boost to high levels than hitters are.
I think also you and I can both agree with this, that his offseason moves left us scratching our heads.
He seemed to waffle between making moves that a rearming team would make and moves that a team desperate to be competing would make.
Now, Lucas Parker and Andrew Vaughn, you can't argue about.
And how
upgraded
in Valera, he has a lot of really good bats.
He's also got Jose Ramirez now.
And Jose Ramirez.
That's an upgrade from Jock Landry.
It is. But he also has a pitching staff that is straight garbage.
You can't win. You can only win so many games scoring 8 runs a game when your pitching staff gives up 12.
Mm-hmm. But I admit that in my rankings all around, I tend to favor strong pitching staffs and disfavor pitching staffs that are weak or who are historically underperformed.
Yeah. And
I think Kansas City's pitching staff is going to shoot them in the foot. I think Kansas City has a above average offense in the American League, a 7th or 6th. So now, I think their pitching staff might be 15th.
So I want to ask you this question because this is something I'm thinking about right now and I want to get your take. Is Detroit winning this division because they're good or because everyone else is bad? Both. That's where my head was at as well. In mine, I only put Detroit at 88 wins. Not because I feel like Detroit is an 88-win team. I feel like Detroit will stumble their way into an 88-win team. I think that their offense is very top-heavy, and they have a couple historical underperformers in there. Hopefully, if that turns around, that'll be very different.
But their pitching staff is not rated very highly, at least by OSA. But they have a lot of historical high performers in that pitching staff. A lot of their guys for their career perform very well. That solid pitching staff is not going to be remarkable. You're not going to get, a Jim Reed, Ethan Knight tandem at the very top that boosts your roster that much. But you are going to get a staff that puts your team in gives your team a winning record and gets you into the playoffs pretty easily.
Yeah. Just real quick, OOTP has Minnesota finishing at 73 and 89, Kansas City in fourth with 74 wins, Cleveland with 75 in third, Chicago with 79 in second, and Detroit at 85, finishing at the top. Just for what it's worth.
For what it's worth.
For what it's worth. All right. I'm not going to give OOTPs anymore. I feel like it's just obsolete at this point.
It is.
It is. We'll skip it. All right, let's move over to the West Division now. West has 4 teams competing for spots. I think we can both agree on
Oakland is
that.
one.
Hold on.
No,
Let's say.
No, they're not.
Let's say. Ready? In 5th place with how many wins? Oakland with
50.
48.
48 was my first draft.
Hey! Something we can agree on. Oakland's bad. Oakland is just...
I feel like this is going to be a very tough season in Oakland.
Danny, we love you. Danny, we truly love you.
We do. And
this is not against you.
Frankly, this isn't even a criticism of moves he's made, because while there is much...
Well.
No, not the record. Not the record. We're just looking at the team as it stands right now, not the team situation. We feel like they're going to be in the cup next couple of years. That's its own discussion. We've had it. The roster as it stands on the field is scary. Yeah. It's very scary. He's going to have a couple decent bats and a couple decent pitchers, but if you're looking at your roster and the best thing you can say about it is you have a couple decent guys, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and I apologize about the camera adjusting, just trying to make an adjustment because there was something in the way. Let's go ahead and go to our 4-1. We'll start from the bottom. Who's gonna finish 4?
Houston with 84 wins.
Houston with 83.
Oh, okay. Seattle with 87 in third.
Texas with 86 in third.
Okay. LA with 91 wins in second place.
Seattle with 89 wins in second place.
And then Texas with 96.
LA with 101 in first place.
Wow. Okay. I think we both can agree then that one of the best teams in the American League is going to be the team that wins the West. It's just a matter of who.
Yeah, I really like what the Angels have done. I mean, I know there's only so much a GM can do when it comes to strategy and anything, but if there's one GM who I think is a king of strategy, it's Tom. And Tom brings a lot to the table, and this is where your team is very good, but you add an outstanding GM on top of it. And this is no hate on anyone. I'm not going to give a ranking on this, but Tom might be a top 5 GM in eMLB. He brings so much to the table that I think he elevates his squad so much with his strategy and GM tactics that he puts his team in a position to win every game. And I think that he is a guy who I could see winning 120 games in this league.
Wow. Okay. I'll be completely honest. I think the strategy impact of a GM is very, very, very limited.
I think it's limited, but I still think it's important. I saw it with myself. And not knowing how to utilize my team. But now I understand strategy and how to utilize my team.
I think your primary impact can be how you use players and how they're and how what your depth charts look like and how your rotation, your bullpen are set up. That's about it. For me, it falls down to primarily the talent on the field and the teams that you have in general. And I think that Texas is going to be scary. Texas is going to be very scary. Texas already has a very good team, and they are adding a ton of young talent.
Yeah,
we've talked before about I don't know, actually, it was Andrew. Andrew and I have talked about, the CCP catchers, and the absolute class of them is Thurman. 20, almost 20 speed as a catcher. It's going to be ridiculous. It's going to make his rookie debut this upcoming
Here's
season.
the thing:
I think
the two top and I think you could agree with this. The 3 top CCP catchers are Thurman, Pearson, and Ham Porter.
Yeah,
I think those are the top.
Actually, Rowan in Houston.
Yeah, Rowan did. I forgot.
Actually, he's probably number 1 right now.
Rowan's probably 1. You probably have Thurman 2, Pearson 3. I'd say is.
Yeah, Porter. I'd probably put Porter at 3 and Pearson is 3B.
Yeah, I think Porter and Pearson, and this is coming from the creator of Pearson, mind you. I haven't boosted him in a while, but Pearson and Porter, it's really going to come down to the reason I put Pearson ahead is he's a little better defensively. They're pretty similar batting wise, but Pearson's just a little better defensively. That's a whole nother conversation that we can have.
Why do you feel like Texas is going to have only 86?
I just think this division is going to beat up on each other, and.
Well, you think this division is going to beat up on each other, but LA emerges with 100+ wins?
Because here's my thing, and this is where it's a preseason prediction, and I could be wrong, but every year there's a team that suffers injuries and it hurts them, and for some reason, my brain's telling me Texas. Everything I've looked at, I wanted to go a little weird with one of my predictions, and I felt like this was the spot to do it. There's always a team that someone's slating for 90+ wins that hits that injury bug and it just shakes them. And for some reason, everything I looked at told me Texas. Okay. And that's where that's completely honest. Look, if Texas stays healthy, it's going to be Texas and LA finding both 95+ win seasons fighting for that number 1 spot like we saw this season. If one of them gets hurt, we're talking about a 4th place finish for one of the two of them.
Yeah, that's true. But I do want to talk about Seattle for a minute. I
feel like none of us talked about Seattle.
It pained me putting Seattle in 3rd and not in a postseason position. It really did. Because I feel like if it weren't for how many underperformers are on the offense, if it was just based on talent alone, his roster might be the best in the division.
Here's why I put Seattle ahead, and this is my complete reasoning. You saw who they added in Rosario.
That pitching staff.
That pitching staff is nasty. The pitching staff is. I'm hoping if I make it to the World Series, which we'll see if I'm predicting myself to make it to the World Series a little bit later on in the show. But if I make it to the World Series, I don't want to face that pitching staff. Keep me as far away from that pitching staff as possible.
And I think the teams in the division are going to be saying the same thing. It remains to be seen in my mind whether that offense can finally match it up, because we've talked about the Mariner Mafia for 2 seasons now, and that Mariner Mafia has not lived up to the name. That offense, for the most part, has dramatically underperformed despite the heroics of Serrano. But that pitching staff last year took a massive step forward, and now you're adding in a true ace. And there's only a handful of those true aces around the league.
So, yeah, I agree.
By ratings. Rosario's still young. Rosario's still getting his feet wet, but I think he's poised to make a massive step forward this year.
All right, so Brenden, talk to me a little bit here. We both have our playoff team set in the AL. Let's run them down real quick. I've got Angels finishing 1, Rays finishing 2. I've got Detroit finishing 3. I got Seattle as the number 1 wild card. Baltimore is the number 2 wild card.
We only differ in our 1 NL West team. I am Rangers 1, Tigers 3, Rays 2. I read it wrong. Angels as the first wild card and Orioles as the second wild card.
All right, I'm just making sure I have mine down properly because I messed it up. I had 2 of them flipped, and then I flipped last minute in my head of what I wanted, just because it's a little different. So we both sort of have an idea. Now, Brenden, and we'll talk about this a little bit later when we go into the postseason side of things, but. And I want you to think about – actually, no, wait. I'm going to save that as one of my hot seat questions.
Okay.
I just thought of a really good hot seat question that I'm going to switch out. All right. Let's move over to the NL side of things. We're going to go west to east just to change it up a little bit.
Okay.
Because I feel spicy. And why not? NL West, odd division. I think that's the easiest way to describe it.
I personally think you could flip a coin and any one of the top 4 teams in that division wins.
Good or bad?
They're all goodish.
Are we talking
I think
like
I think they're all excellent. I think they're all very good teams with flaws.
I think it's the opposite of what we were talking about in the AL Central. A team is going to lose just because of everyone else. Like, if that makes sense.
I think that there's a clear number 5, and then you look at the other 4 are kind of that just because someone has to lose, someone's going to have a worse record than the other 3.
All right, so let's talk. Who's the clear number 5 in your head?
Colorado.
Colorado is,
And I think, and that is not to Colorado's detriment right now.
That's not to Mike T's detriment at all.
They're piecing everything back together after a start to the offseason that saw basically the entire lineup leave, and a good chunk of the pitching staff.
Not to Mike's fault. Mike took over halfway through the offseason.
Correct. He took over after this had happened.
Yeah, where the previous GM didn't properly protect players.
Yep. He did a good job trying to piece things back together. I think the pitching staff is going to suffer from 2 things, and that is that it is not a good pitching staff, and it is Colorado. But the lineup will again be among the NL's best, and that will probably keep them from completely bottoming out as a team. I just don't think it's enough to put them in the postseason conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Jim Horner there. You've got Ryan McMahon still, and Brent Levine. You got Seiya Suzuki. You got Colton Welker. You got Keone Cavaco, who they signed, who's a great all-around backup, who could potentially play some spots. You got I'm just trying to look through their team real quick. You got Meisner. You got Bill Wirtz, who's going to come up soon. You got Jordan Anderson. You got Walker Smith. So you've got talent.
You've got an amazing lineup,
and you got Luis Ramirez, who's 20 years old, who could probably come up tomorrow. You just added Michael Scott recently. You got Chris Lawson down there as some of your hitters.
By the way,
pitching wise, you got Juan Benavente.
Can we talk about what a great trade that is?
It's a great trade.
You swap a reliever who, post injury, really struggled. You swap a reliever who is very struggling for a young CCP who's an amazing defender. I think that is a
great trade.
Solid win of a trade.
I agree. So, okay, now we talked about who's the number 4 team, or number 5 team, I should say. Let's go 4-1.
Okay, 4-1. I'll go up my list, then I'll have you go up your list because I pretty much put them all close together.
Okay.
Arizona with 84, San Francisco with 87, Los Angeles with 88, San Diego with 90.
So I've got at 4, I've got Los Angeles at 82. Arizona coming in at 3 at 84. San Francisco coming in at 89. San Diego coming in at 89.
Who wins that 1-game playoff?
I'm going to take San Francisco to win the 1-game playoff.
For me in this division, like I said, every team in this division has massive highs, but they also have notable weaknesses. LA's pitching staff is very good. They're like I said, I have definitely favored pitching staffs in this rankings. They have a very good pitching staff with more help on the way. It's just on the lineup side of things where there's some big question marks. San Francisco has 2 legit aces at the top and several top bats, but I don't feel like the all-around quality team is quite there to be a top-level team yet. San Diego is very top-heavy, both in the lineup and the pitching staff, and Arizona is just solid in both. They've got a couple good young pitchers. They've got several really quality good bats. I just feel like the overall team quality is not as good as the other teams in the division.
Yeah, I can agree with that there.
No dispute.
I think what your analysis there was spot on. I have no argument with that case on the Dodgers. I think what sets San Francisco apart and San Diego are 1A, 1B for me. And I think the reason why I'm taking the 1-game playoff in San Francisco's favor, I'm just going to re-say my rankings just because San Francisco at 89, San Diego at 88. Just for clarity's sake, for wild card purposes,
It's Jandy Ronson and Ethan Candela for you, isn't it?
That's what it is. It has to be.
Fair.
It has to be. and it's what you've got in your CCPs, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It's going to be a dogfight. That whole division is going to be a dogfight, and my biggest thing is that I think if LA is out of it, we could see a huge explosion of a selling.
I don't know if we'd necessarily see them sell because of how much team control they have over their players. I would see more probably of a repositioning where they sell a handful of pieces. But I think you have Peralta and Snell, who are both great pitchers under control. You have several young guys coming up, and then the lineup is young and controlled. You kind of, if the season doesn't go the Dodgers' way, they wait it out.
Yeah, I can agree with you. All right, so I think we sort of agree on that division. Here's the division where I think this is one of two divisions where there's going to be a lot of discrepancy. The NL Central. You ready?
Yes.
All right. NL Central. Let's go bottom up. Finishing at the bottom, who you got?
Finishing at the bottom, I have Pittsburgh with 76 wins.
I've got Pittsburgh with 70.
Oh, you're a little bit lower than I am.
Right.
I think the overall roster quality is still solid despite the churning.
It's such a tough division. That's what it comes down to. It's such a tough division.
But I feel like that's more going to affect the teams at the top than it will necessarily affect the teams at the bottom. Number 4, Milwaukee was 78.
Number 4, Cincinnati was 76.
That's fair. That's fair. I have Cincinnati at number 3, finally cracking that 500 record barrier and getting on with 82-80 record.
I have Milwaukee at 82-80.
How about that? Now here's the shock. Cubs, Cardinals, 2-1. Cubs with 88, Cardinals with 91.
I've got Cardinals at 88. And the only other 100-win team I have is the Cubs at 100 wins.
Okay, you really think the lineup's going to get 100 wins when that pitching staff doesn't have a whole lot of top-level arms? Like, don't get me wrong, they got some good arms. And
here's my thing, ready? I wanted to be a little crazy with my predictions. I like crazy. I like havoc. And what I saw from Chicago towards the end of last season is that even though I said earlier you can't win scoring 8 runs, when you score 20 a game, what it feels like that I've seen Chicago score before, you're going to win some ball games. And I think that they're not done. I don't think Jake is done adding something. I still think Jake's got something up his sleeve where he's going to add something, whether it's midway through the season, before the first half, before the spring training is even over. He's going to add some arm to that where we're all going to go, holy Chara Bunny, there's something here.
And I want to say this. I still think that puts them as number 2 to the Cardinals. I've pounded the table for pitching staffs in this episode, and I'm going to keep doing it because St. Louis
and you're the pitching staff guy.
They have an amazing bullpen, and they have a great lineup too.
You're the bullpen. You're the pitching guy. I'm the offense guy. And
you know what?
You know what? Danny Smith Jr. and Kent Herbeck. That's my argument. And you know what?
St. Louis won't have as good a lineup as Chicago will. But I think if you add both together, St. Louis ends up at the top because St. Louis's lineup is good. St. Louis did suffer from a lot of underperforming.
This is going to be this is the best division. This is the best division in baseball. And I will not be shocked if this one comes down to the wire like it did last year.
100% as well.
That we can agree on.
Yes,
and here's my thing. You ready? And here's another reason why I put Chicago ahead. I think Chicago has the pieces in their minor leagues to make a move. And I know we can't speculate on moves. Chicago has the pieces. Chicago knows what they're doing. And I love to go with the reigning champ, like the reigning division champs in a division when I can. Because I don't know how much it plays into OOTP. I'm not that much into OOTP to know this. But what momentum does, I think Chicago's got a real good opportunity here. They've obviously got what it takes. And also, Andrew, I love you, but I can't pump your ego too high. And you know what? It's going to be a fun division to watch no matter what.
It will be an amazing division to watch. And I really do think it's the Cardinals' time.
And that's fair. And you know what? I hope they all beat up on each other. As a guy in the NL, I hope they beat up on each other.
Because it makes things easier for you later.
Exactly. Let's talk about me.
Finally, we get to talk about you.
In my division. Let's go 5-1. Yes, I know I'm going to have a little bias here, but you know what? I'm the host of the show. Y'all can deal with it.
All right.
All right.
You go first. Who's your 5?
My 5, Miami Marlins at 77 wins.
Miami was 68.
Okay.
I've gotten significantly less high on Miami as the offseason's gone on.
You know what? Hold on. I'm dropping my win total. I read the wrong line when I read the win total. Miami at 72.
Okay.
I read the win total that was above them in the column.
Well, who has 77 then?
77, I've got Philly.
Okay. I actually have Philly with 73.
Okay. That's fair. At 81 and 81, I have the New York Mets.
77 and 85.
Fair enough.
I think the offense is really bad. I don't think the pitching staff outside the top level guys is going to be very good. I think that the team has enough talent, and I think to finish above the bottom 2 teams, I just don't see a winning record for them this year.
Yeah, and then here's where my bias comes in a little bit. I've got the Nats finishing with 91 wins. I've got me finishing with 92. Not an outlandish number, not impossible to happen. I wanted to give myself the division win because I think I can.
That's fair. And I won't throw that possibility out the window, but I do have you finishing second with 85 and Washington finishing first with 92.
And that's fair.
And I will say this, across the entire National League, I do have my division winners at 92, 91, and 90 wins. Because here's something we need to talk about the National League compared to the American League this year. The American League is very polarized.
I have mine at 192 and 89, so very similar. Here's my thing, and here's what it's going to come down to. I know I don't have a bona fide ace necessarily that's shown its head yet. I think one of my pitchers will take that leap up this year of being a bona fide ace, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think that with the addition of Aiden Pearson there, with the addition of Johnny Burnitz, who Christian Pache did not have a good year in the outfield. Third base now getting figured out with Jock Landry, in my opinion. Yes, it's going to be a little step back from Jose Ramirez, but I think overall it's going to play better for my long term. I think with a potential Austin Riley re-rate, whatever that does to him as my first base starter could be really good. Up the middle, Ozzie Albies, I'm hoping for a bounce back. Shortstop is still a little unknown. That's a camp battle that's going on right now. And then Freddie Freeman is my DH. Antonio Alvarez, if he had a great season last year. And not to mention, I added Alex Verdugo, the reigning AL MVP, into my outfit. My lineup is very, very solid, and my backups behind them are also very solid. My pitching staff is what scares me because that's what hurt me last season. I'm going to do I'm waiting to see what happens this spring because I may be also experimenting with a few things in my bullpen. I added one of the most consistent starters in eMLB in in Musgrove. He's been one of the most consistent pitchers in eMLB.
Yeah.
I added him on a pretty friendly contract at $7.5 million on just a 1-year deal. He could really be a great arm in there, a veteran leadership presence that I need on a very young team. And I honestly think that, now that I also understand how the game engine of OOTP works, I can better utilize my pitching staff and better utilize my lineup.
All justified reasons for optimism. Now for the pessimism. The pitching staff has a lot of solid players on it. A lot of solid players with question marks. Ian Anderson is definitely the best pitcher on the staff. And there's not one other player who's not a rookie, historically average, or massively underperformed last year.
I mean, Max Fried was hurt all of last year. Imagine what he could have done across.
Exactly, that's a problem. Is he going to come back completely healthy? He only got 2 starts at the end of the year.
Yeah,
you only saw 6 starts out of him. He was great before then, but he's in the last year of a deal. He's coming off of a pretty major injury, and he's 33. The lineup, unquestioned, one of the best in the National League, unquestioned. But sometimes great lineups can't overcome pitching staffs that shoot you in the foot.
That's fair. And that's what scares me the most. As the GM of that team, that's what scares me the most.
I think if your pitchers hit, you win the division. I think if your pitchers fail, or at least are mediocre, your team is in the playoff contention, and then we can start talking about how those wins shake down.
Look, and here's my thinking, right? The Nationals are going to be my
The Nationals are amazing.
The Nationals are really good. And I mean, I think I'm having a fair amount of optimism. I don't think 92 wins is out of the question for my Braves team. And I think that putting myself as the division winner might just be a little bit of my bias coming in, which I've admitted. But I don't think it's out of the question. I think that my optimism in that is not
completely unrealistic.
It's not unrealistic. It's going to be the Braves or the Nationals. I think we can both agree on that.
We can both agree on that. As a matter of fact, I think all of our teams in order, we had our teams in order in this division.
Yeah, which, mind you, here's my thing. I think that the Nationals and the Braves are going to be fighting till the end. It's going to be the Cubs-Cardinals of last year.
Oh, okay.
Like, that close, whichever team doesn't is going to be the top wildcard team. That's my thought on the situation. And I think what it's going to come down to, and what I say, is that I think my lineup is just a tad bit better than his, even though his pitching staff might be a tad bit better than mine.
I can't justify that. I cannot justify that one bit, dude.
I think my team 1 through 9 is a little bit – I'm not saying by much. I'm saying personally, based on my scouts' ratings. Based on my scouts' ratings, not OSA. Based on my scouts' ratings, I think mine 1 through 9, especially if Alvarez, Pearson, and Burnett have good seasons, is minuscule amount better. And that's where I'm allowed to have that opinion.
You're certainly allowed to have that opinion, just as much as you're certainly allowed to be wrong.
Oh,
dude, you have firepower, right? You have firepower. You can contend. You can't match blow for blow Juan Soto, Jose Anthony, Garcia, Turner, Bishop, Vic Rodriguez, Diggs, Pineda. I know you don't like WAR. I personally don't like WAR either. But that's 3.9, 7.4, 4.5, 2.5, 4.3, 2.3, and 4.6, and Pineda 2.8 last year. Every single player on there is an above starting caliber player by WAR. WAR is a flawed stat, but it is a really good stat at snapshotting value, and Ed says every single one of those players is a better than starting caliber player. Just last year, that's taking into account Juan Soto's massive dip. And keep in mind, Juan Soto's massive dip goes from being MVP caliber to all-star.
That's fair. And you know what? I don't think you're far off. But personally, and this is where I'm going to stick up for my guys, I'm taking my lineup.
Well, of course, yours.
And I feel like when I look at everything, all things considered, defense as well, I just feel a little more confident in my lineup.
I mean,
and I know you don't agree.
There's
and
a lot
that's
to
okay.
Like. There's a lot to like.
I think there's more to like than dislike in my lineup.
I can agree with that. I think there is too. I do think that Albie's terrible season last year is a point of contention for me.
I think he's going to bounce back.
Freddie Freeman can still swing it. Antonio Alvarez had an amazing rookie year. If it weren't for Kent Urbeck literally being the greatest 20-year-old third baseman ever, like actually like the greatest 20-year-old ever, he would have been rookie of the year. You obviously added the defending American League MVP and Alex Verdugo. Jacques Landry is a great third baseman who's only been getting better. Your catcher is going to be starting. There's a lot to like, and plus Johnny Burnett's, and you know it's a good team when at the very end you go plus Johnny Burnett's.
Yeah, plus Johnny Burnett. He's there.
Yeah.
I mean, both lineups are going to be good. All right, let's talk playoffs. Talking about playoffs. We'll talk playoffs. Then we'll go ahead and do.
Who's your playoff teams for the NL?
going down 1 through 5. Number 1, the Cubs. Number 2, the Braves. Number 3, San Francisco. Number 4, the Nats. Number 5, it's going to be a play-in game between the Cards and the Padres.
Oh, okay. For me, I don't have that play-in game. Number 1. Make sure I wrote this down correctly. Number 1, it's Nationals. Number 2, Cardinals. Number 3, Padres. First wild card, Cubs. Second wild card, Dodgers.
Okay.
I am leaving Atlanta out of the playoff.
Fair. Fair.
Well, do you want to talk about how we think the playoffs are going to go now?
Yeah, so let's start in our wild card round. So let's start in the AL. I've got Baltimore heading to Seattle. What do you have?
I have Baltimore heading to Los Angeles, so we're both going to the West Coast.
All right. Who wins the one-game wild card in your head?
I do.
I agree. I think even though you don't have the nutball, you got Ethan Knight.
Ethan Knight for one game trumps all.
Yes.
And I think we saw my team perform against LA last year. A very good LA team that, sorry, Tom, we beat you 4-1 in the CS.
It's going to be a very good game no matter what on whoever's side or whatever it ends up being. Let's talk NL. I'm going to talk about my playing game and then I'll do mine and then you can do yours. I've got Cards in San Diego doing a one-game playoff. I've got the Cardinals squeaking it out. And then Cardinals and Nationals. I've got the Nationals beating the Cardinals in the one-game playoff.
Okay. I got Dodgers at Cubs, and I choose pitching staff between between pitching and offense there. I mean, the theme of the video, Dodgers win the wild card.
All right, that's fair. So that's set up our ALDS and NLDS. Our ALDS features or at least for me, the Baltimore is going to against the Angels and the Tigers against the Rays. What do you got?
And for me, it is Baltimore at Rangers and Tigers at Rays.
All right, so let's start with the Tigers at Rays because that one is the one we both have the same. Who wins and how many games?
Cool, I already have that on there. Tigers in 4. Keep in mind, I gave my Rays. I gave my Rays a 95 wins and the Tigers 88. I really think that the Tigers are built for the postseason.
Rays in 5. I think it's going to be probably one of the most exciting series of the playoffs.
Okay.
All right. I've got Baltimore heading to Los Angeles. You've got Baltimore heading to Texas. I'll do mine first. I'm going to take the Halos in 4.
Oh, come on, man. Come on. Don't give
You left my team out of the playoffs.
I do have the Rangers winning in 5.
Okay, that's fair. You see? So, all right. Let's move over to the NL. I have the Nationals heading to Chicago to face the Cubs, and then I got San Fran headed to Atlanta. What do you got?
I have the Dodgers heading to Washington, and the Padres going to St. Louis.
All right, so I'll start with mine. Nats versus Cubs. I'm going to take the Nats in 5.
Basically just two top offenses going in there and slugging each other. That'd be a really fun series if that happens.
Yeah. Pick your wild card versus number 1 seed.
Wild card versus number 1. Dodgers at Nationals. I think the Nationals sweep.
Interesting. All right, then I've got San Fran heading to Atlanta, and you've got what's your other matchup?
San Diego heading to St. Louis.
All right, you go first. What do you got?
I think the Cardinals win in 4.
Braves in 5.
Okay.
I think it's very similar to that Cubs-Nats series where it's two high-powered offenses, and I think my pitching staff just squeaks it out by that much just because I feel like my bullpen is a little better.
That's fair.
That's literally my analysis on that series.
That's completely fair.
All right. So let's hold the championship and the World Series. Let's go over to everyone's new favorite segment, the hot seat.
You know what? No, I think we should do our championship
series.
I think we should get it in. We've come this far.
Okay. So I've got the Rays heading to Los Angeles, and I've got the Braves the Nats heading to the Braves in an all NL East showdown.
Okay. I've got the Tigers heading to the Rangers. I've got the Cardinals heading to the Nationals.
Wait, did I get that right? Do I have the Nats?
You have the Nats as the wild card, so they would be heading to the Braves.
Right, but did I have that right? Did I have the Nats beating the Cubs?
I thought I heard that.
Yeah, that's what I thought I heard too. For some reason, I'm double guessing myself. That's fair. All right, so let's do the AL one first. Since you're the AL GM, I'll let you do yours, and then I'll do the National League first.
Tigers beat the Rangers in 6 and advance to the World Series.
Rays beat the Angels in 7.
Ooh, okay. Charles back in.
Charles back in. NL, Nats heading to the Braves.
You do it.
I don't know. I'll tell you right now, on my prediction sheet right here, I have a blank.
Because you couldn't decide.
I couldn't make a decision.
What? Make it on air here.
Oh. As much as it hurts, I gotta say Nats in 7. As much as it hurts me, I have to do the right thing and say
At least
Nats
you
in
gave
7.
yourself 7.
Look, I as much as it hurts me and as much as I want to pick my team to go further, I just know that their pitching staff is a little more built than mine, and I've got to take that into consideration. As much as I want to pick myself, I also have to be realistic in this, and that's something I strive to be, as realistic as well. I got to take the Nats in 7.
Okay. I've got the Cardinals going to Washington, and it's personal for Andrew, and Andrew wins in 7. Setting up a Tigers-Cardinals World Series.
All right. Before we get back, because let's move over to the hot seat, shall we?
Oh, you don't want to pick the World Series?
No, we're going to do it after the hot seat. We're going to let them.
All right.
We're going to have to let them wait a little bit, all right? So, Brenden, I'll let you ask me the questions first because I asked you first last time.
Mm-hmm.
So, welcome to the hot seat, everyone. This is how many questions do you have?
I got 3. You told me to prep 3.
I got 3 as well. We're each going to prep 3, and we each had 3 prepped. We'll argue about it if we feel the need to. As you can see, one of us is larger. The person asking the question is a little smaller. So, Brenden, fire away.
Who had the best offseason in the league? Which team?
I'm going to go ahead and say I liked the offseason of the – oh, God, this is – wow, I wasn't even thinking about this.
You're on the hot seat, bud.
I know. I'm going to say I like the offseason best of the Miami Marlins.
Really? I mean, don't get me wrong. Hazley, great signing. But the Marlins?
For me –
even over yourself?
I had a really good offseason, but I think it's overshadowed by here's the perfect time I can use this. But I offer you Johan Camargo.
All right.
I had to find a way to sneak it in, but I think Miami just had a little bit better than anyone else. I really like the signings they made, to be completely honest.
I like what they did too.
I think close. If they didn't trade Royce Lewis, I would have said the Twins.
Okay. Really, frankly, I think that's more of a benefit for them. They got a lot of good pieces back. I think that was the best use of Lewis.
Fair.
Who will win the 2026 AL Cy Young?
The AL Cy Young in 2026 will be Ethan Knight.
You know what? I would love to see him repeat. It's going to be Rosario.
Fair.
All right. Who is the best hitter in the American League?
Best hitter in the American League. Oh God. I would have said Alex Verdugo before this offseason. I'm going to take Rafael Devers.
Pedro Serrano.
Fair. That's fair. All right. Let's put you in the hot sheet, shall we? You ready to go?
I'm burning.
All right. Here we go. Number 1. Who had the worst offseason?
Who had the worst offseason? Minerva.
Kansas City?
Yeah, Kansas City. I think it was unfocused, and I love Minerva, but I think that he actively made his team worse.
Even worse than New York?
Which New York?
The Yankees?
I think the Yankees didn't do anything. I think not doing anything is better than making your team worse.
Fair. All right, let's go ahead and move on to question number 2. Who is going to come out of the All-Star game? Which team, who will win, AL or NL?
The American League, because we're the better league.
That is just flat out wrong.
Y'all suck.
Hold on. How many did I put up on you last year? How many runs did I put up on you last year?
The record book doesn't remember.
The record book does. It says 5. The record book says 5.
All right. You know what? And we're going to come back in, and we're going to beat y'all.
All right. And then number 3. Who is going to blow up their team the most at the trade deadline?
Who's going to blow up their team most in the trade deadline? Ooh, okay. Back to my records. Milwaukee.
Interesting. I don't think I agree, but I think the Dodgers blow up their team the most at the trade deadline. But that's me. So we're back to this. Hold on. I'm going to put it back like this because I like the symmetry that we had going on beforehand. I didn't want to mess it up. It would have, brain would have gone. All right. Let's just get down and dirty with it. World Series. I've got Los Nationals going up against the Rays.
That's a good World Series.
What do you got?
Tigers going up against the Cardinals.
So you've got an all Central matchup. I've got an all East matchup. Sorry, West Coast.
It's the worst coast.
West Coast, worst coast. I stand by it. All right.
I'm not going to stand by that.
No, I'm not. Actually, I am because I'm an East Coaster. So
I'm in the middle.
Yeah, I know. All right. You go first. Go ahead. What do you got for me?
You know what? I actually want you to go first because I don't think you had this prepped until now.
No, I did have this prep. I didn't have, but I had whatever team came out of the NL versus the Rays.
I'm going to have you go first here, though.
Nationals in 6.
Nationals in 6. Okay. I think we get an all-time classic World Series. And I'm sorry, Andrew. I've spent the entire night pumping you up. You lose in 7. You get to the mountain and you fall.
Sorry.
I think Mark stands atop the hill as a champion.
I like it. I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. That's interesting. Wow.
I think and keep in mind, Mark makes the playoffs as the division winner with the fewest wins.
Playoffs. All right. Few quick housekeeping things, guys. If you ever have any questions you want us to argue about, just send them to us. We'd love to hear from you. I know they did the whole Ask the Insider podcast. Sorry, I'm not that fancy. I'm not sending out a Google sheet. I'm not that fancy.
Nah, just DM us.
DM us, especially if you want to take Johan Camargo off my hands. Be more than happy.
Jesus Christ.
All right, guys. Thank you so much
for listening. I
almost
had to get Char Bunny there.
I know. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you'd like to join the Discord and find the place where you can DM us, the link will be down below. If you'd like to check out Commission's Twitch channel, that link will be down below as well. We've got this streamathon coming up soon. It's going to be a fun time. Brenden, did I hear we're maybe making a guest appearance at some point?
We're not guest appearances. We are a featured event.
Do I hear 2 featured events or just 1?
I'm more than welcome to do 2. I don't know if we've talked.
We'll talk. We'll talk with our people. We'll have our people contact the people. But you have at least 1 special appearance by us.
We will have a very special appearance.
Maybe featuring. We'll see who else joins us. We'll see.
With more details to come.
More details to come, so make sure you stay tuned to that. Also, make sure to follow the Twitch channel down below for all that information. Make sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube, and make sure to get at us with any of your dumb questions. We'd love to answer them and argue about them. For Brenden and myself,
I got
Aiden,
one more thing before we sign off here. A quick disclaimer. Please remember, these predictions are meant to be fun and goofy and obviously biased. If you don't like how your team is ranked, just remember it's not personal. And you can yell at us in the Discord.
Exactly. Yell at us in the Discord. Because none of this is personal, guys. I know we were talking about GMs and being first-year GMs, or, we don't like the way your offseason went. Sorry, Minerva. But I think at the end of the day, these are all preseason predictions. We don't know how the season is going to go. As much as I hate to say it, it's RNG. It is random number generator at some point. And the fact of the matter is that it's going to be an exciting season. eMLB always is. On our next episode, we're going to talk about season awards predictions. We'll talk a little bit about some other things. We'll talk about a preseason wrap-up, any big roster shakeups that might happen. Because there's always those 1 or 2 DFAs that you look at and go, huh? And then we'll also talk a little bit more about the streamathon potentially, depending on when we record the next episode. And if you guys ever want us to do this as a live episode, let us know. We'd love to do one of these episodes live, even if it's not for the streamathon, even if it's just to do it live where we can get some chat interaction. We'd love to hear from you guys as well. Brenden, anything else?
Nope, can't think of anything.
Fair enough. Brendan's wearing the Dodgers sweatshirt today, so I'd like to give a big RIP to one of my biggest influences in Vin Scully. Shout out RIP. He's a great guy. Never met him, but you fall asleep, at least for me, falling asleep on the East Coast listening to It's Time for Dodger Baseball was one of those iconic memories you can kind of never forget. You see all the big plays, whether it was Bill Buckner, whether it was Kirk Gibson. He's synonymous with baseball, and it's a big loss in the whole community. Dodgers wearing patches this year for the rest of the year to commemorate it. The real MLB trade deadline just happened. There were some huge moves in real MLB, and we'll talk more about that on something else. So don't you worry about that. Don't you worry about that. But for now, for Brenden and myself, Aiden, thank you so much for listening. We truly appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.